Time has flown by, hasn't it? It is now time for our final act. We've got a very special guest for you now. Actually, he's called Colin Seagrove. I'll let him tell you more about himself. He is fantastic. Let's get our hands together. Welcome to fantastic Colin Seagrove.
Good evening. My name is Colin Seagrove. By day I am a chartered accountant. By night I am a writer of erotic fiction. I take myself very seriously. As a special treat for all you ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to present to you one of my latest writings. So I do hope that you have some tissues to hand. Prepare to become hard and or moist, depending on your genitalia. As I present to you an erotic story from the deep south. And I'm not talking about Jedburgh. Ha, comedy. This story is upside down. This is called Blood in the Bayou. Lavinia Van Outhouse was one of the most beautiful women in all of New Orleans. She had hair and a face and everything. But Lavinia's beauty was matched only by her great wealth. The Van Outhouses were one of the richest families in Louisiana. But despite her wealth and beauty, she had a secret that nobody knew about. Because that's how secrets work. Lavinia Van Outhouse, or Lavy to her friends, was Nosferatu, a vampire, a creature of the night. She could go out in the daytime, but it made her go all sparkly and it looked weird, so she didn't. It was a hot, sweaty Louisiana night, but Lavinia wasn't sweating because she was dead. She just finished drinking her bedtime orphan, but somehow, tonight, nothing could slake her thirst. There was a gnawing hunger deep inside her, and it had to be satisfied. So she rang the bell beside her 5-poster bed, summoning her man-servants. The door to her bedchamber creaked open creakily, and 4 men entered the room and stood before her. Antoine, Etienne, Jérôme, and Ian. Antoine was tall and powerfully muscular. Etienne had a slender figure and pale feminine features. Jérôme had long, luscious hair that framed his beautiful face and dark, intense eyes. And Ian was also there. The sight of all this pulsating man-flesh was enough to get Lavinia frothing at the gills with vampire porn. Tonight, she would feast, not only on blood, but also on willies. She rang the bell a second time and all 4 men jumped into action. Antoine and Etienne moved to either side of the bed, expertly undressing their mistress, running their masculine hands over her smooth shoulders and breasts. Jérôme seductively opened her legs, laying perfectly placed butterfly kisses that trailed from her calves to her inner thighs. Ian wasn't quite sure what to do. So he just sort of started slapping the top of her head awkwardly with his penis. Antoine and Etienne dropped to their knees and began playfully teasing her nipples, which stood to attention with wanton desire. It had been ages since she'd had Chinese. Jérôme's hot breath warmed her icy vampiric skin as his tongue traced perfect circles around her navel. Meanwhile, Ian had knocked himself unconscious trying to take his socks off. But when Ian came to, he opened his eyes to an horrific sight. Antoine, Etienne, and Jerome were sprawled out across the enormous bed. But they were not writhing about like people that were alive and doing sex. They were completely still, like 3 people that were dead. Because they were dead. And in the middle of it all sat Lavinia Van Outhouse, panting and wiping fresh blood from her mouth, like a jogger that's just run into a tree. She reached out her hand and slowly beckoned him over. Ian was powerless to resist. Against his will, he found himself being drawn towards her, like somebody being drawn towards something against their will. As he got closer, his heart began to beat faster. An electric tingle ran down his spine, going straight to his normal-sized genitals. Before he knew it, he was in her clutches. She enveloped. She wrapped her arms around his body. She tore at his clothes as their lips started a mouth-based embrace. Hotter and hotter, wetter and wetter, giving himself to her reluctantly, like an Aberdonian lending someone a fiver. Hotter and hotter, wetter and wetter, writhing on the bed like a multi-limbed sex monster. Hotter and hotter, wetter and wetter, sweating and gyrating as he pumped his childbearing hips towards her. But it was too much. Too much physical sensation all at once for poor young Ian. With a low moan and a facial expression that made him look like a yawning giraffe, he spaffed himself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that wasn't too much for you. Next time I shall return and I will read you a chapter from my new latest writing. It's an erotica science fiction novel, and it's called In Space, No One Can Hear You Cream. And before I go, I will leave you with this one final thought. Right now, somewhere out there in the world, there is a beautiful newborn baby, and its parents called it Ian. Thank you, good night.